they'll lynch you. But he did, and he laughs.
You are a different cat. You're a different cat of fish.
Hi everybody, Russ from the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Happy hump day, all downhill from now. And less than just over 24 hours until we play KA against in the Europa Conference League quarterfinal, second leg at London Stadium, with a place in the semi-final at stake, playing either Anderlecht, our former Europa Conference League group opponents, or AZ Alkmaar, the Dutch side. And we're going to come back to AZ a little bit later on. I think Anderlecht are 2-0 up in the first leg. We'll find out before we kick off, really, pretty much, unless it goes into extra time, who we're going to be playing in the semi-finals before we kick off. So there we go. Or us, or KAA Ghent will be, almost a KKK. KAA Ghent will be playing in the semi-finals. So we'll have all the build up to that in the next couple of days. So what I wanted to do was talk about managers. Now, obviously, we've been linked. There's been lots of speculation about a handshake. I mean, we were led to believe there has been a handshake. We've heard conflicting reports saying there hasn't been a handshake. We don't know. No one knows, clearly. And a potential new manager could be coming in. And because of that, a number of names have been linked. The likes of, Carrick, Potter, Rodgers, Will Steele, and another name that's been linked quite a lot, another name that's come a little bit left field, Arne Slot. Now, very similar to when Will Steele, I mean, everyone sort of thought they knew Will Steele, so then we broke it down and gave a bit more information about who Will was, where his coach, what his teams were, he played for as a professional, that type of thing. Now with Arne, it's the same type of thing. In my opinion, we sort of know the name, but we don't really know a lot more about him. So that's the idea today, is to give you some information about who he is, and then you can make a judgment whether you think he could be potentially a nice fit for West Ham. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'll be really interested to know. His name is cropping up a lot because, particularly in the summer, there's going to be a lot of manager jobs up in the Premier League. The likes of, potentially Leeds if they stay up. You've got the likes of Crystal Palace. You've got Spurs. You've got these teams that are looking for new managers. Leicester, I suppose, Dean Smith will probably keep charge because they'll go down anyway. But that type of thing. Southampton, they stay up, which is not going to happen. But there's going to be a lot of managers in terms of this managerial merry-go-round. So let me know what you think about Arnie. Let's start. So who the hell is Arne Slot? Good question, Russ. Thanks. I'm going to answer it. He's the current manager of Feyenoord, who are having a absolutely phenomenal season this year. They are they're top of the Dutch league, and they're pretty much guaranteed to win the Eredivisie, which, if they do, it will be only the second time they've won it this century, in the 21st century. Hell of an achievement, particularly when your name's not Ajax or PSV Eindhoven. So he's done very, very well there. Not only that, but last year he got to the final of the Europa Conference League, where his side narrowly lost to Jose Mourinho's Roma in the final. So again, for a Dutch side to get to a European competition as well shows, there's obviously something working there. In terms of his playing career, not a stellar playing career. It started in 1995. He made his debut for what was FC Zwolle, which is PEC Zwolle now, as a midfielder. He then moved basically around Holland. He played for Sparta Rotterdam. He then went back to PEC Zwolle, and then he finished his career at NAC Breda before retiring at the age of 35 in 2013. Then when he went into management, coached was one of youth team coaches at PSV Zwolle, and then he moved to Canberra as their assistant manager until 2017. Then he made a step up in his career, joining AZ Alkmaar. You see, it's all coming together. It's all coming together as their assistant to do, and John De Boer, who spell in charge didn't go well. He was then sacked. John was sacked, and then Slot took the top job at AZ Alkmaar. His first season was cut short due to the COVID pandemic, but his side still placed second thanks to their goal difference. But a winner wasn't crowned in 2019 because they abandoned the league. But even so again, with not having a badge that's the Ajax or PSV, to get any side in the top 2-3 is very impressive indeed. Now, the following season, Slot was sacked. So cutthroat AZ Alkmaar, after being accused of not concentrating wholeheartedly on the team. What was apparently happening was he was actually negotiating a move to Feyenoord behind AZ Alkmaar's back, and they found out and sacked him. So that's what happened. But despite that, he averaged a 2.11 points per game, which was the highest points tally from any manager in AZ Alkmaar's club history. So he was a phenomenal success at AZ Alkmaar. In terms of his managerial style, it's been likened to someone that we've been linked with heavily recently, well, previously, really, in terms of Bielsa, in terms of Marcelo Bielsa. He is very attack-minded in his nature, and a bit like Bielsa, which bore fruit for Leeds and played some really attractive football. He's an avid user of the 4-2-3-1. Particularly was it Alkmaar, and that has moved into Feyenoord. I mean, I think for Feyenoord, I think he's played that formation something like 85% of all his games. So literally it is a 4-2-3-1. Sometimes he goes to a 4-3-3, but 4-2-3-1 is the one he mostly plays for. And the whole idea being he has this sort of double pivot, sort of midfield. The fullbacks push high and they're sort of inverted, a bit like Pep when he brings his fullbacks into the midfield. Then his two centre halves split. The goalkeeper basically ends up playing as almost like a sweeper keeper, as a temporary back three. So, it's a very progressive, very forward, attack-minded formation, which could suit well in the Premier League. His midfield includes players that we've been previously linked with, and apparently have been scouting recently, as recently as the last couple of weeks, in terms of Orban Korku, and also Santiago Jimenez, the target man. So we're looking at his players. We've been scouting his players, and I could be putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5, but it does seem a bit of a coincidence, a little bit. His side also have had the most shots in the Dutch league this season, not necessarily all on target, but they've had the most shots, so they're creating chances. They like to get their wing, they like to sort of bring, Jimenez particularly is a target man, so he likes his wingers to get to the byline, cross balls in, which tends to fit, I'd say, quite a Premier League ready side. Unlike the typical sort of Dutch coaches, which tend to play, total football, they take their time. It's quite slow build up. Not for Slot. Not for Slot. He likes the ball fast. He likes risky passes, breaking opposition lines, fast, smooth, ball progression. Someone like Paqueta, he would absolutely love, because Paqueta ends up at 60-70% pass completion, but those passes are all progressive, that back line, trying to put balls through, and that's exactly the type of football he likes to play. His former players have labelled him as someone who's very calm, very analytical, and can be very diplomatic, although he don't stand for no rubbish, and he's often been criticised for being too blunt in terms of criticising his players after games in post-match press conferences and stuff like that. He has a current contract available. His contract is not available until it runs out in 2025, and I think. The fact is that the trouble is he's an unknown source. But he hasn't ventured outside of Holland at all for his playing or managerial career. But then you see someone like how Ten Hag is adjusted to Man United, to his style, and how he's sort of molded into he sort of had to do sort of like a seesaw, really. You've got Ten Hag style, and then you've got the Premier League, and he sort of had to meet in the middle. We can see that's worked, and Ten Hag has a similar situation, in terms of coming from the Dutch league. He would be a risk in that respect, but I think he does. At 44, he's got the time in his hands to develop potentially into one of the top coaches in Europe. If his managerial style is compared to a Bielsa, for example, and the way he plays is very similar to the way he's set up to how someone like Guardiola plays, it could be a huge thing. I mean, I mean, technically they haven't won the Dutch league yet, but they've all but won it. Winning the Dutch league when your name is not Ajax or PSV Eindhoven is a huge achievement for anyone. And also, as you said, reaching the Conference League final as well. Again, getting a side that far in that competition, particularly a Dutch side as well. He has apparently was interviewed for the Leeds job before Javi Garcia took it. That's what we were led to believe. Apparently, also Spurs are sniffing around for him. Crystal Palace are sniffing out for him. And if rumours are to believe, West Ham is also sniffing around for him. Now, as I said, according to several sources, we have been out in Feyenoord scouting players. Okay, so if we're scouting two of their best players, would you think the manager want to come as well? Possibly. Again, I might be jumping ahead, but there's the dots seem to be joining up a bit too nicely for me as well. I think, according to the news outlet, Voetbal Primul, definitely butchers that. Slot has apparently now committing himself to Feyenoord for at least another season. However, considering the situation that it's like when Payet left Marseille for us, and then when he did the same thing to us as he did to Marseille, you think, well, Leper can't change their spots. I think if I'm reading it, for me, yeah, you can say you can commit, but the fact is, apparently he's already been interviewed for one job already, and it could be lip service because don't forget, he was sacked from AZ Alkmaar for negotiating contracts behind the back of the existing club. So maybe it's a bit similar there, and he doesn't want to be seen to be, contravening any issues there in terms of negotiating contracts out of season, so to speak. But I think there's definitely, I mean, for having so many clubs after him as well, and just the nature of the way he plays, I think it's not surprising that we've been linked to him as well as several other clubs in the Premier League. I think by what I've been reading about him, by what I've been seeing in terms of listening to interviews and people like your expert in terms of how he talks about him, there does seem to be a lot of sort of similarities with how the current progressive style of football is in the Premier League to how he presents his football as well. I mean, I think before him, Feyenoord, it might have been Dick Advocaat or someone like that was the manager of Feyenoord, and it was very old school, very slow, very methodic. Again, there's lots of parallels to how people perceive how the Moyes ball, so to speak, is, and then he comes in. There's definite parallels in terms of how he walked into Feyenoord and basically changed them from being Moyes ball to being more progressive ball, and this could be a similar situation for him. So he wouldn't be afraid to be in that situation because he's done it before. But again, it would be a risk because he's got no Premier League experience. But neither's Will Steele. Neither's really Carrick, in all honesty. He had a few games being Premier League in terms of Premier League, with with Man United in terms of interim manager, caretaker manager, but I think he's got a bit more. I think he's got a bit more in the tank than Will and Michael in terms of experience, in my opinion. But let me know what you think. I'll be fascinated to hear what you think about him, based on what we've been saying, the stats, the way he plays. It seems an obvious reason why he's probably linked with us, because of what we want as fans as well in terms of a progressive attacking football. But then the trouble is the flip side. Yes, been likened to Bielsa, but Bielsa had a good first season. The second season, he got found out, and then the second season they had to get Jesse Marsh in to clear, to tighten it all up again. We'll be in that situation again. I don't know, and we don't know. Hindsight's an amazing thing, but I thought I'd just present that little bit just to give you an idea of who he is, just so when you're in the pub and you're talking about it, or maybe tomorrow you're at the supporters club or whatever, and you're talking about new managers, you've got a few factoids just to drop into the conversation. If you are going to the game tomorrow, please don't forget to drop a quid into the buckets. They're all over the place now. They're at the supporters club, they're at the aquatic centre, they're at Hackney Wick as well, by the Verga vans and the Ribman and stuff. So and the donations have have increased a lot. A lot of £1 coins in there as well, which is what we like to see. But don't forget, you can put a £5 in, you can put a £10 in as well. But it's nice to see the £1 coins going in. So anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, my friends. Come on, you bloody irons, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Let me know what you think about Arne Slot. Bye-bye.